Ask Earl Anything, number 39. This is my 39th episode. Okay, November 1st, 2018. And I started this show somewhere around February of this year. So it's been quite a year of doing this show. I've got quite a little fan base, the people that watch it. The goal of my show has been to, the goal of my channel is to encourage drummers. And that's what I try to do every week on this show, is encourage drummers. And I appreciate all of you that contribute questions. And, you know, that's the big part of this show, is your questions. It's giving me ideas of something to talk about. I started the talking to the camera format back in 2016. And my first talking to the camera format show was called Drum Talk, and I still do some drum talks about a specific topic. I did one on drumsticks recently. My Just You and Me video about the Chicago video I couldn't post on YouTube ended up being a drum talk because I did a little talking before it. But it started for me, the drum talk was my way of talking about my gear and drummers that influenced me. Ask Earl Anything grew out of guys always asking questions on my videos about equipment and stuff, so it kind of grew from there, and now it's gotten into all kinds of different questions. And this week I've got a lot of questions, only from 3 people, but one's got like 3 questions in there. So this is going to be a good show. A lot of talking this week, a lot of things to talk about. Your questions make the show, as always. But I mean, I don't know if any of you guys caught Beats by Jay's show this week, the Halloween special. Outstanding show. Okay, some of my friends like Mikey V were on there. Also Steve Cox, Steve Osborne, Steve Delamar, a lot of Steves on there. Jeff Holden was on. Uzi Boo Boo Doo Doo was on. I mean, they all did some great Halloween-esque type videos. Kin Productions. We went head-to-head in that contest last year. I don't know how I beat you, Kin, by the way. I have no idea how I could ever have beat you in on that contest. You got that dude's got some serious chops. And it was pretty much a kind of a metal, Halloween metal-esque type show. A lot of metal. But great playing, great show. I got to be in the front end of it. It was kind of fun for a couple minutes, about 10, 15, until my wife showed up. Very interesting. I wish I could do that more often. But just want to shout out, the community is what it's really about, you know. And I will say that the beginnings of this show happened because of the community here. It happened because of guys like Drumman 190 and Drum Covers by Bill. You know, those guys promoted my channel early on. They put a contest out, a Drum Cover of the Year contest last year. And it's been a shame that the community is kind of splintered. And I think there's been enough space between the problem that happened, which I don't even remember what the problem was exactly. Because truthfully, I have not allowed myself to not be friends with everybody, okay, in this community. But I think the healing has to start to happen, guys. The drum cover community has changed a lot in the last year. YouTube has changed the algorithms to the point where it just doesn't matter anymore what you do. It's not going to work. The YouTube community can no longer, drumming community can no longer withstand itself as a drumming community if we do not band together. Because the algorithms on YouTube are not putting us out there anymore. We're not getting the airtime, okay? The big channels, even the big channels have stopped putting out a lot of videos because there's no place to go for this space. Yet I still continue to see new guys coming into the community every day. So I want to challenge the community. I've tried to challenge one in a drum cover, but I also want to challenge the community in, you know, that Africa drum cover, which I got a few responses to, by the way. Not enough to give anything away. That's for 2112 drums. I'm not giving nothing away for 3 guys or 4 guys doing it. I want to see some serious action on Africa. But what I will say, it's not about another contest. It's about us shaking hands and being brothers again. And that's got to happen, okay? And I know some of the guys really feel bad about some of the stuff that's happened. And I know the community is really hurting, because I hurt for this community. That's all I can tell you. So I'd like to see a healing in the community, and if there's anything I can do to broker that healing, I will throw my hat in the ring for that, okay? Because I don't think we'll ever get what we had before, but we need to get something new and exciting and different, and we all need to get behind one another again. Because that's what's missing, is that community again, that space of community. So I am thankful for and I could have just lost 100 guys, 25 of the 50 guys that watch my show every week write that statement. I realized that. So, and that's okay. I'm taking the chance. I'm taking the risk this time. Okay? Because taking the risk is worth it when it comes to healing our community. We've got enough division in this world. Our country's in huge divide right now. We're in a huge divide because of this side and that side. But there's a huge amount of people in the middle that really are not either this side or that side. They're in the middle. Because some of this side is right and some of this side is right. And some of this side is really wrong and some of this side is really wrong. There's got to be a middle. The majority of the people live in the middle. And the majority of the people in this drum community don't want to side on either side. We want to live in the middle together. But the leaders of this community fought for no reason that I can tell that was worth it. And we need to come together. So if I lost everybody, I start losing subs left and right, and you all don't want to watch my show anymore. I get it. I normally don't talk this way, but it's kind of on my heart that we need a détente. We need to come together. And I saw that at the end of Jay's show. I didn't watch it live, but I did watch the replay, and he reached out. So I am hoping that the sides will come together, and I can be Switzerland and help negotiate that to the community. That's my hope. So those of you on both sides, pass it along that I said it. And if you want to, if you want to unsubscribe, do that too, okay? I can't do nothing about that anymore. By the way, having subscribers doesn't mean all that much if there's not a lot of fun here happening, okay? And there's too much, the darkness has got to go. We got to get back to having fun here. And I've been saying that a long time, all right? Now, let me start with my first questions, and it's from All Classic Drum Covers, Tony, okay? And Tony asked a question. I have a question. There's multiple questions here, so I'm going to pick the one I want to answer first, and I'll go back. The first question is, how do I get rid of a raspy sound in the snare, even if you adjust your snare on your bottom head in tune? Let me know what you suggest. And that one I'm going to tackle last, probably. And what's the best advice you can give the drumming community on timing and doing rolls and coming out of it in the right time? That's the next question I'll pass on. This is the question I want to do first. Also, what are your thoughts on Google Plus shutting down, and what kind of impact do you think it will have on the drumming community? That's the question I want to start with. See, we've been able to separate our community into little groups. Tony's got his community, and Michael Perry's got his community. Jeff Holden's got one on Facebook, and so does Ronnie Drum On. He's got one on Facebook. Zach's Drums has got one on Google Plus. And the communities are wonderful. But the real community where all of us are putting these videos on is YouTube. So this is why I cannot overstress what I started with today, is that we need to build this community up again. This YouTube community up. There's no stopping Google what they're going to do. There's no telling what they could do to us here on YouTube. There could be another platform we're on in a year at this point in time. Who knows? Google is so big, they don't give a crud about drummers. They don't care about us. And look at the publishing companies. Oh my gosh. They're shutting down videos for like B songs and C songs that never made hits. They don't want them played by drummers covering those songs. Okay? And I'm not talking about my Chicago Just You and Me. Steve Delamar had one. Modern English didn't want their song played. I mean, I don't own any Modern English CDs. Okay, they might be a great band for all I know. They don't want to get a couple more hits because Steve Delamar got, 100 people to look at his video, in the first week. They don't want that? I don't get this. But this is where Google's at. Google's, the publishers, they're all starting to, we want to make money, we want to control who uses our songs, we want to control. You think that's where we're going to go with this, okay? Well, pretty soon, it's going to be just flamboyant drummers playing lots of chops is all we're going to see, like we see on Instagram. If they don't let us if we can't cover material. That's what's going to happen. And YouTube's not going to be fun, so Google Plus wouldn't be fun either at that point. And Facebook's the same thing. I put something on Instagram, I get shut down. Facebook's got the same Nazi tactics going on in Facebook land. So what do I think about these communities, and do I think how the effects are? The effects are not good. So what's our best bet as a community to be? Is to be united here and to support each other here. This is where it starts, okay? Nobody's getting rich off of YouTube. A couple of you may end up getting an endorsement somehow. If you get enough views. What that endorsement means, I don't know. I know some serious endorsers, by the way. Pro-level guys that they pay for certain parts of their endorsement, okay? And they're pro-level guys. I'm talking about guys that's played on hundreds of albums. I'm talking about guys that work with the biggest names in the business, and they pay for their stuff, okay? So if you're getting an endorsement by any company and you've got a YouTube channel, okay, I can bet you're paying for a good piece of it, okay? It may be a 50 off rate, it may be a 60 off rate, a 7. But if you think you're going to get free stuff thrown at you because you got 3,000 subscribers or 7,000 subscribers or even 100,000 subscribers, you're not going to get what you think. It's not going to happen that way, okay? Because these guys have to get something out of you. That's how endorsements work, all right? So let me just say that. So how do I think this is going to affect it? I think it's going to affect it harshly in a way that we can no longer splinter off. We've got to find a way to come together here in the YouTube community again, okay? And that means we got to start promoting a solid community here in YouTube. So I want to champion that this week. This week's theme of the show is championing community. And I hope many of you will talk about this. Many of you will get behind this. Many of you will talk to the guys that are on the outside that have been part of the problem why we're in this situation we're in. Because it was a problem. It was. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong anymore. Because we're all hurting for it. So let's heal. Let's come together. We need a healing here. That's what we need. And that's the future. So I hope I answered your question, Tony, in some way. Now, to get to your other two questions, to go back to drumming, and that's where this all goes to, by the way. First off, working on timing. The best way to work on timing is to work with a click. But as we all know, a lot of these songs that we play that are drumless don't have clicks, and they were never recorded with a click. So landing your timing may not mean that you're bad timing. It's just you're not locked or don't know the song well enough. And I will give you an example, a personal example from Earl. I released Careless Whispers yesterday. Okay? I released it because I've been sitting on some videos. I haven't been doing a lot of videos, to be honest. The last one I tried to do, Just You and Me, got tossed, and I had to turn that around. And I said, I've been sitting on this for over a month. Let's release it. There was something about the video that bothered me. Now, number one, I think I could have done a better mix. That's the first thing that bugged me. So I'm critiquing my own video here, just so you all know. I hear things myself. The other thing that bothered me is the second verse. It's a little bit hard to lock in. There's no click. There's no rhythm parts. Okay, I even laid down a shaker to try to follow the track. But that section, there's just like a couple bars there. I kind of found it and found the middle. It's hard to lock sometimes with these songs. That's the problem. If you want to get perfect timing, work with a click track. And only do songs that have perfect timing. Now, some of my favorite songs that I've done did not have perfect timing on here, but I found a way to lock in with them. So that's the key. But if you want to get perfect timing in your fills, work with a click. And when you're working with a click, record yourself and be conscious of where you land. you have to work on getting even with your fills. That's the key, is to get even with your 16th notes, your 8th notes, and that just takes working with a pad and working with a metronome, and then working it around the kit. And the more you do that, the tighter and more locked you're going to be. The other thing is you always want to land with the other musicians. Okay, and we've all become very time conscious in this day and age. All right? So that's my advice. Work with a click, but realize a lot of these songs are pretty hard to lock up with Tony. Now, as far as the snare drum goes, the magic of the snare drum, how to get the honk out of a snare drum. I have found that the bottom head has to be tight. I like my bottom head tight enough so when I hit a drum, the snares respond, okay? But the top head needs to have some muffling on it for recording. If you play it wide open, you've got that overtone ring. All I'm using is a little piece of, not moon gel, but one of those gel clings that I have. Changes the pitch changes the sound completely. Just dries it up. So muffling on a snare drum is pretty important, okay? But the other thing that's important about a snare drum is proper tuning of a snare drum, even tuning if possible. Now, there are ways to get really cool sounds, having a detuned lug and that kind of stuff, and I'm not going to do a lesson on that today because the snare drum is one of those unique instruments you can do a lot of stuff. But the reason my snare drum sounds so good, in my opinion, and it is my opinion by the way, because I don't let my snares sound crappy, is I keep my bottom heads tight and I do my adjustment with the snares on the snare as far as how loose I want something. Now this is the Noble Cooley, it's a little bit more finicky throw. See, it's got that nasty thing just with a little turn. So I had to tune that in a tad. It's back. Anyhow, that's my opinion on it. Good tight bottom snare, tune the top head evenly, put a little bit of muffling on the sides, and usually you can find a way to get that honk out of the snare drum, that annoying honk. Now, I will say one more thing about annoying honk. When I started in this studio, I had a rug on this wall, not this nice foam. I had foam on that wall, but no foam. I had a rug on this wall. And I had an annoying honk in my room. That was part of my problem in recording my drums in this room early on. So your room makes a difference when you're recording drums. And the annoying honk was always in the overheads and the snare. I was having problems with those, the relationship of the two. And as soon as I put this foam on here and took down the rug, the honk went away. And since then, this room has been a really, really good room. So you've got to find a way to tune your room. Now, the best way to tune your room is make sure you have no square rooms. You don't want a square room. And if you can angle some of the walls in the room, that's another help to making the studio have less reflections that are going to cause those honking overtones. So the room does affect it too. Then the only thing you can do is, put some gels, put a big fat, snare thing on there, with the big hole in it, which I use those kinds of things too sometimes. All right, the next question is from different drummer, AR drummer, Adam. And Adam is asking, question, what is your favorite setup? 4-piece, 1 up, 2 down, 2 up, 1 down. My favorite setup, if I'm doing if a traditional 4-piece has got a snare, kick, and 2 toms. My favorite setup is this setup right here, the 4-piece kit. If I go 5, I usually like 2 on the kick drum and 1 on the floor. But I've done a couple videos where I do 1 on the top and 2 on the floor. I have 2 floor toms, a 14 and a 16. It's nice. When I was younger, I used to like playing lots of drums. That's why I have an 8 and a 10 and a 12 and a 13 and a 14 and a 16. Okay, for this Gretsch kit. Because back in the day, it was 2 toms over here, 2 toms in front, 2 over here, so you had 6 toms. Or you went for 8 toms. Everybody wanted as many toms as possible, but Most of the music I play today, it doesn't require that. And taking more than 4 drums to a gig is just too much. The church where I play, the drums are kept on the 3rd level, so it's a big deal when I have to bring the drums from the basement all the way up into the sanctuary where we're doing it. There's like three flights of stairs. It's a trip. It's a workout too for me. It's a huge workout when you're a guy my size and stuff. But let me just say it to you this way: 4-piece kit, small tom, floor tom is my favorite setup. I'll say it that way. Right? So, awesome. All right. The next question, and the last question, comes from, I believe it's Rich Raw Dog. Rich Raw Dog asked the question. Great show. Hang in there, Earl. I know what you mean about being busy. We can only multitask so much. Ultimately, you can only focus on one thing at a time. Thank you for that, acknowledging that to me. Question for next time. What would you recommend to keep the bass drum from sliding forward? Last couple gigs, I played other kits, and all the drummers that played had the same problem sliding. Well, over my career, I've experienced a lot of that, just to be honest. So let's talk about some of the ideas what you can do with your kick drum. First off is a good rug. One that your feet will stick into. Now, they used to make this rug, it was a drummer's gig rug, and it used to be a Modern Drummer all the time back in the 80s and 90s, which had, I don't know if it was a piece of wood, but I think it might have been a piece of wood actually attached to the rug. So when you folded it up in a way that went this way, and then you had the piece of wood there, but it was actually in front of the bass drum so the bass drum wouldn't go forward. Okay? Now, that is a really cool idea if you don't want to move your drum to move, is to put it on a rug that has that kind of something in front of you to stop it from going anywhere. Okay? If I'm at a gig and I'm using something and I got stuck, one of the things I used to carry with me was a little piece of rope. Now, I won't do this to my drums because it wrecks your tension rods of your bass drum, because I have done it on my drum, and I've had to replace some tension rods because of it. But if you're ever on somebody else's kit, you're stuck on a kit and the bass drum's running away, I used to have this strap. I'd take the strap and bring it through my... I'd take the strap through the bottom of the bass drum 2 lugs and bring it to my seat and bring it across, and it would hold the bass drum from going anywhere. It was kind of like a V. You could do that with a piece of rope. That's pretty cool. How do you keep the hi-hat? That's another problem. Okay. But I've done it with a hi-hat too, where I've attached the hi-hat because the bass drum wasn't going anywhere, but the hi-hat was moving. I've attached that to my seat. That's not optimum. That's kind of like, that's if you get stuck, you know. But yeah, good spurs. That's what you need, is good spurs. Piece of wood. I've seen guys take a piece of wood on a stage and just nail it in front of the bass drum. Nail it down to a wooden floor. I've seen that happen. You won't get away with that at many establishments, though. They're not going to dig that if you try to do it to their dance floor or something. But it's really solid rug is what I always carry a good rug, one I know my bass drum's going to stick into, and make sure you've got spurs that will go in. Now, they used to make this thing, you'll find there's vintage ones of these all the time out there, that had 2 more claws that went right in front of the bass drum. And the early Gretsch bass drums with the hoops had a little dial down that would dial down from the hoop straight down into the floor. I never used that, by the way, but I've seen them on drums. There are also some funky feet type things that you can put your bass drum spurs into that are rubber and they're not going to let your drum go any further. I've never tried them. Okay. But the things I've tried the most has been a good solid rug with the spurs going into it. That's what I used so my drum doesn't go anywhere. And when I've gotten stuck without it, I've gone to that rope trick. So that's about it. All right. That's it for Ask Earl Anything this week. Your questions make the show. Please respond to my challenge about the community. I want to see the drum community get better here. And I want to see more guys want to be a part of this drum community again. So I'm praying for healing and hoping for healing. So Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.